Hopefully there won't be too much echo, but I'll check. Oh yeah, right over. Mute your laptop. Hey folks, we're going to get underway now. We've started the live stream. If you'd like to grab your last slice of pizza and perhaps a top up and grab a seat, we can get underway.
I'll help you out.
All slowly filing into our seats. Thanks so much for coming out in such great numbers tonight. It's always great to see a crowd return to our monthly dbt Meetups. This is really impressive. It's I think our first meetup was about 15 or 20 folks, and starting to really grow back to pre-COVID numbers. How many of you are in the office more than one day a week? Just a show of hands. Yeah, right. Every day. Who's in the office more than half the week? Show of hands. Okay, slowly getting there. Sounds like we need to keep meetups on a Thursday then for that one day a week you're in the office. All good, all good. We've got Neeraj from Nearmap. So we're always super grateful at the dbt Meetup for all of our wonderful hosts, and today we're hosted by Nearmap. Wonderful company, doing some really great stuff. Aussie tech company, doing a lot of stuff in the mapping space, and obviously they're hiring and stuff like that. But I just wanted to do a round of applause for Nearmap for putting on some wonderful pizzas and supporting the local DBT community. So thanks so much. Did you want to say a couple of words, Neeraj?
That's all right. Oh.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I don't think we need to really introduce Jonathan too much because he's been a long-term member of the local DBT Meetup. He's presented at Coalesce a couple of times, twice, is it? No, just once. Just the once? Yeah, okay. Once. Yeah, I'm sure that's how you got the t-shirt, yeah. I'm sure you're off today, mate. So. Absolutely. So, it's really great to have Jonathan with us. I think last time you presented, you talked about sort of like a log analytics use case using dbt. And tonight he's going to take us through a GIS use case of dbt, which really showcases, I guess, the flexibility of what you can do with dbt. So it's always fascinating stuff to find out what else you can do with dbt. So without further ado, take it away, Jonathan. I'll hand over the mic.
Thank you. I'll stand there, right?
Yeah, just here. Awesome.
Well, I hope you guys all enjoy the drinks and the food, and don't forget the sunset. It's really nice just now, so in case you guys missed it. Anyway, so I actually might need someone to help me flick the slides. Aaron can. Thank you, Aaron. Yep, so again, thanks for coming today, and very nice to have you guys here. It's the first meetup ever happened in Nearmap, so you guys are all part of it now, part of history, I'd say. Can we move back one slide? Yeah, so today's topic, it's about our journey to build a GIS data platform. For those that not really familiar with what GIS is, geospatial information system. So like all the maps, polygons, when you all the boundaries, what's the boundary of New South Wales, counties, how many intersections and between, a boundary and another boundary and all that. That's what GIS is about, on a day-to-day thing. So we embarked on this journey, about a year ago to build a GIS data platform. So I'm just going to tell you guys a story and some learnings. So very mandatory, obviously, you guys are Nearmap, I got to talk about Nearmap. And you know what, they're actually a great company. We do aerial imaging, so we don't fly planes, but we make our own proprietary camera systems. We fit onto planes, we fly it over major cities and also not so major cities in AU and US and Canada and New Zealand, more to come. So we fly those planes, we capture what's on the ground, and then we actually stitch them together, the different photos together into a map, kind of like Google Maps really. But you know what, we're better. Why? Because first, we have our own camera systems, it's a lot higher resolution. So very clear pictures, and also high recency as well. Somewhere like Sydney, we capture like 6 times a year. So if you're in like a construction project, that is gold to you, because, you get to see how your site changes. You get to, use the latest imagery to plan, where do the trucks come in, where do the bulldozers, come out. So that's mostly where the value is. We have like a 2D product, so top down, what you see on Google Map, kind of. We also have 3D as well. Pretty interesting. We actually fly planes and we take our photos at an angle. And you know what? When you take enough photos at an angle, you actually get enough of a perspective, to reconstruct 3D mesh of what's actually on the ground. So that's also our offering as well. Oblique imagery, I already foreshadowed it. Those angled imagery, and no tech companies these days can live without AI, and obviously we do AI as well. And it's not just AI that people just talk about. We actually do. We're proud of having probably one of the best AI teams in Australia. We do image recognition. We go and find out how many pools are there. Not just this year, but how many pools are there in Sydney. This month, 6 months ago. What are the changes? How many solar panels are there? How many construction sites are there? And those are the sort of higher level analytics that we that our customers find really useful as well. So API and our own map browser, for our customers, to consume our content, and we're talking about like petabytes and petabytes of content that we actually have in our repository. We serve many industries, really. I mean, insurance, roofing, utilities, governments are sort of our bigger customers. But I joined a company 4 years ago, and we used to talk about this like Chucky truck story, where basically like a food truck company, they would just use Nearmap, find out like where's the best place to park their truck, so that they get the best crowd, or where are the construction sites, because the tradies love that. I was going to swear, but sorry. Yeah. So that's what Nearmap is, and a little bit about our team. Then that's getting to more diagram stuff. That's what you guys came here for, I understand. A team of 3 engineers. For a company of about 400 people. It's a bit small, but what? We picked the right stack, I think, and it really allowed us to, scale very well. And a team of 3 data engineers. We support analytics. Just not just your typical like product analytics or sales or finance, but like Peter said just now. Last year did a talk about cybersecurity. So we ingest CloudTrail logs. For those of you here who are in the AWS family, who open a security group, to 0.0.0.0/0. Those things, we don't really care, but some people, they're like, oh my God, the world is ending. So we help them out, on finding out who does that, all that data activation that come with that as well, notifying both the team and also the perpetrators. So that is part. We also work with the AI team as well. Ari there is from our AI team, so we help them to manage some metadata. So very across the board, and our charter here is to enable our company teams with trusted data. So it's all about both the trust between that people bring that people have on our team, but also on our data assets as well, and also the platform applications and insights. So basically everything that analytics would cover. our stack, very quickly, I guess, it's kind of like the Bible these days. You can't really fall too far away from that. We are ELT stack, so we have Fivetran doing big portion of our ingestion job. So your Stitch would probably do the same. These days there are other competitors in the market as well. So we have a lot of internal databases, as well as those SaaS vendors, your Salesforce. Actually, raise a hand if your company uses Salesforce. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a lot less than I thought. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so Fivetran being one of them, and we have dbt being in the middle as well, to pair up with our main data warehouse, which is Snowflake. We used to do Redshift, move on to Snowflake. Clive at the back there actually helped us, he's a sales engineer from Snowflake. Well, I mean, at least till a while ago. We miss you, Clive, so yeah. So we have dbt working with Snowflake, and we also have Looker being our BI tool. And I used to call this a Trinity, but these days you get to do reverse ETL as well, or RETL. And we just we start using High Touch for that. We used to do that as well, through a bunch of AWS Lambda jobs. Cover this in my previous talks if you guys are interested. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. And next slide, please. So I guess just start, telling the story. We're obviously a GIS, Nearmap. Map is in, the name of the company. So we do a lot of things with map, with boundaries, with polygons. Things like our ops team. They manage, the flights. Where do we fly? When do we fly? What camera? Do we fly this city or that city with? And they make a lot of maps, telling our pilots, where to fly, but also, to communicate to the rest of the company as well, coordinating all that, go-to-market stuff. Our marketing team, again, they need to be able to tell our customers, what content do we actually have, or what's our plan this year, that what are the cities that we're going to cover, and with what sort of content. Is it 2D, is it 3D, and so on. Obviously, after marketing, sales need that kind of data to tailor solutions when they sell to customers as well, especially the sales engineers. We do a lot of business with big enterprises, and we need to really work with their technical team. See, so these are the places that you're interested in. How much do we cover? What are the stats? How many parcels, how many buildings, and things like that. And last but not least, our product team needs maps to understand usage behavior as well. We have map browser, we have API. People consume our content. We need to know. So what did our customers actually do? Do they just look at NISOLs, or it is like very sparse? So all that, all those things we actually do in Nearmap, but next slide, please. But we actually couldn't answer these questions, at least effectively. And things like how many parcels are there in Newcastle? It's actually a hard thing to do. Of course you can go to some government website and try to find like one number, right? But what if you want like a specific kind of parcels? It's you need the data there. You need multiple data sets, and you need a place for compute, for you to extract that insight. How many square kilometers do we cover in New York? Again, it's merging, the boundaries of New York, and also our coverage plan data, and that again requires data from multiple teams, in one place, with a centralized, with a agreed business logic to process. And the rest very much the same as well. In the CSMs, there were customer success managers who asked us about, so where are we going to capture? Because I need to renew this account. They want to know, what are we going to do for them? What do we have for them? And ops would be asking us, the coverage, change, from we have content, like 10 years back, how did our content grow, and what's the usage and all that. Again, all these questions, all the way down to questions like, from the execs, and I'm sure you're not the only one. I'm not the only one who got asked this. Just tell me where to fly, right? So I mean, this kind of question has an issue within itself, but you can imagine the amount and the complexity of geospatial data sets that's required to even get close to answering these kind of questions, right? And you know what? These all is under the sort of GIS umbrella, but we've all heard of this before, right? Ops team, they put stuff in our Dropbox folder, and then some other things are in APIs that are hard to use. Maybe the more tech savvy ones can write a script or something like that, but you're going to grab someone in marketing who does work with Adobe, chances are they're just going to give up and not do it. Parcel data lives with one team, population another. Again, this is like a data silo thing. Sure. I've talked to some of you guys just now. Some of you guys are sort of building projects where pulling all the spreadsheets together. Same problem here. It's just that we have slightly different data. So we call it GIS. You call it, I don't know, finance data or revenue data and things like that. So finding the right data set requires Indiana Jones effort, and I put Indiana Jones in not just because I want to sound funny, but it's actually true. If it was Indiana Jones, the first one, I forgot the name. Maybe some of you can help me with that. But the one that he had to go to the temple with Sean Connery, and he had to pick the right chalice to drink from. This is. Do you remember which movie was it?
Last Crusade.
At Last Crusade. That's it. So why is it Indiana Jones? Because first you have to jump. Indiana Jones would fly from one country to another, and then to one from one country to another again. That's basically what people would do, right? They will have to go to one team, ask something, and then go to another team, ask something, and then go to the other team and ask something, and you still getting nowhere close, to the answer. And then once you actually get a lead, on where that answer is, it requires digging, right? You need some like SQL chops, or maybe you need to write some script to extract the data, and that's you need to dig really deep down. And the worst thing was that you might have the answer, but you might have several versions of the answer. Just like when Indiana Jones had to choose, from these three, an ugly-looking chalice, and then two that are shiny. Like, you don't really know which one is it, But you know what? You pick the wrong one up. You produce something. You send it off to the exec, and it'll be worse than poisoning yourself. So that's what Indiana Jones effort really means here. And also we sort of covered that just now, like just different teams will give you different answers, because one team processes their data one way, the other team processes their data another way, and also last but not least, again, it's hard to share insights. You'd be lucky if you've got Dropbox and people are actually willing to have like nice name folders that they drop their shape files or their GeoJSONs in. But if you're not as lucky, it's probably in Slack somewhere, hopefully not a private channel, and you have to do like a full search through entire 2-3 years of your Slack history to actually find that right file that someone refer you to. And next slide. So again, all these issues, they are things that we in the data analytics world, in the data engineering world, we actually work like day in, day out. This is the most typical kind of business issues or business questions. We have data silo, we have governance, scattered sources, maybe same as data silo, documentation and cataloging, lack of a single source of truth, curating business logic, and lack of a good tool for people to share insights, to share reports. So this is nothing new, just like James Franco there, same, different, but still the same. So again, I guess I'm just spamming you guys with too many memes here, but we did a project on cybersecurity stuff, CloudTrail logs before. It's the same, I guess that's probably one of the takeaways here, which is a lot of problems, they might not look like they're data problems, but the modern data stack and what DBT can do is actually more than just what most people use it for, like calculating revenue, calculating conversion rate, and all that. There's definitely more room for growth. So hammer and nails, we talk about like applying DBT, applying the modern data Trinity stack of your ELT, your Fivetran, Snowflake, Looker. That's like the Holy Bible these days, to much of the data analytics world. But in this case, it doesn't really work. And the problems are, for Fivetran, well, we have really big files, right? And parcel in the States, it's like 150 million, and they update it, every quarter or something like that. How do you support that without your execs coming down at you and say, why is the bill like just blew up, right? And storage as well. Not every, well, I'm going to talk to you guys about, some of you guys about Snowflake and BigQuery just now, but none of those actually had good support for geospatial functions. They might have like a subset, take Snowflake for an example, they probably, worked on it for, I don't know, a year or two, but, they are, they support some functions, but not the others. And, there's always performance issues. So again, part of the, modern Trinity stack, but, they're not really fit for purpose here. And also Looker, the API too that we have, it just doesn't really work for maps. In fact, until this day, if you have a map visualization in your dashboard, you can't render it as PDF; it will just fail. So something like that. We sometimes we think that I said just now that a lot of problems they're actually data analytics problem, but you know what, we have to be flexible with our tooling as well. So what do? We mod the hammer, right? So if we have source outside of Fivetran, they're very big. Okay, we built a pipeline from S3. We need geospatial join. We pick the best in class. We pick Postgres where there's Postgres support for that. We need good map visualization, user experience. We pick ArcGIS, kind of like the market leader, in GIS, asset management and visualization. So this is kind of like, this is our design these days. We have like Fivetran still doing some of the job, pulling data from our internal databases, our ops team, our API team, and then we also have pipeline coming with data coming from Amazon S3 as well. We swapped Snowflake for Postgres, but we still use dbt, and then we push the data out to ArcGIS, we push the data out to Looker via Snowflake as well. So this is just an overview. What I want to share with you is probably some learnings that we that we got from implementing this. The first thing is rolling your database is actually not that easy. I started my data career probably with Redshift. Well, I mean, I worked with Microsoft SQL for a short time, but I really started with Redshift, and not until I moved on to Postgres did I realize why we picked Redshift in the first place, because it's actually quite cumbersome to do your own tuning. You got to change like database parameters, you got to run vacuum like every now and then, you got to index your tables, and you got to analyze the most popular queries, and make sure that your table are performant for those queries. It's actually not easy to do. So tuning and indexing is something that you might want to look out if you were to sort of walk away, or venture a little bit away from the modern data stack. We also picked Aurora Postgres just for S3 integration, and I think these days, I feel like despite what I just said, the Postgres does have that ability to trigger Lambda function, to get and push data to S3. In a way, it actually feels like a data warehouse or a data lake house, whatever Snowflake call it these days. This probably the next two slides probably the heart of this talk today. But despite all the work that we did in Postgres, we actually still ran into performance issues. We're talking about joining, hundreds of millions of polygons with maybe tens of millions of polygons, and then we do it over a few tables or join them together. It's actually not an easy thing to do, and it's Postgres is not really something like Snowflake where you pay more money, you can pay yourself out of the trouble. You need to tune, you need to upsize it, and there's only so much that you can upsize it in AWS. So we get very long runs, we get memory errors. But you know what? This is probably something I found really interesting, which is dbt actually helped us a lot. We needed to find a way to break down a query. So say table A joins with table B. Both very big table, takes very long. Maybe we get memory error. What we did was that how about we take like the first 500 records of table A and just run the query like that, and then we loop the next 500 records and then join again next 500 records. This is something that maybe in olden days, those of you who run Airflow, actually doable, right? You make a template of query, and then you go and query the total number of rows before you actually run the query, and you can run a loop until your job is done. But in dbt, you can actually do it even easier. You don't need to write Python. It's just one script and that's it. You can roll your own materialization. So dbt materialization is basically the instructions that you give to the database to execute your job. When you run a job in dbt, say to create a model, there are actually multiple things going underneath, right? Like you need to create the you need to create a table. It could be a staging table, and then you're going to write data into it. You might need to do some swapping, and you might need to then re-grant your permissions to the users. That's what dbt materialization does for you. It's sort of like a little bit towards the back end of dbt, but this is actually something that you can customize, that you can change yourself. And through doing that, we're able to get through to get over our memory error issues, our performance issues by just running our queries in different batches, different chunks, and and we're able to make it incremental as well. We're able to output like useful logs along the way as well. We were able to control if it fails, it doesn't really update the table. It doesn't really leave it half done. It will just write it to to another staging table that doesn't get deleted, so that the devs can come back and pick up from there, or to find out what went wrong there. So all these goodies it's actually available in dbt, and that really allowed us to make this whole GIS platform work. And we talked about how dbt materialization help us with processing the data, updating the data. There's also, these days people talk about reverse ETL, like activating data activation. And we actually use that as well. I mentioned that, we have ArcGIS. ArcGIS is kind of like a platform where you just dump some files and it will index it for you, it will visualize it for you. So there's no really like direct integration between, the Postgres, our geospatial data warehouse, and also our GIS BI tool, which is ArcGIS. We needed to find a way to push the data out, to create a file and then push the data out via API to ArcGIS. And you know what? we managed to do it with mostly with dbt as well. So what we did was that we have a job in Lambda, in AWS Lambda, that basically just takes whatever that gets sent to it and just make a bunch of API calls, check whether a folder exists, in ArcGIS, and then create it, configuring the sharing, rename it, you name it, and we were able to trigger that, in dbt by using hooks. So, by using Aurora Postgres in AWS, by leveraging its integration with S3 and also AWS Lambda, we could just run one query. We'll tell dbt, okay, after you've created this model, after you've created this view or table, run this query that basically dumps this table, to the AWS Lambda function, and the Lambda function will do the rest for you. And you can even have it, we have it as an async function. You can actually have it as a synchronous function as well. So you actually get to know, whether the Lambda function ran to completion, it's successfully run. And more than that, we can also run tests, using that as well. Again, we have a Lambda job that basically just checks all the maps that we've created and published in AWS, and we see if they're valid, if they have the map layer that we want them to have, and we run it from dbt as well. But again, utilizing macros, utilizing hooks, or dbt run operations, for those that have used it before. Again, these are examples of how dbt sort of help us, do things that we didn't think that dbt would be able to do. I think most people, when they first, encounter dbt, it is a SQL repository, that allows you to write some query, link some models together. It runs it for you. But actually, it runs a lot deeper than that, and well, I mean, I was going to go to the next slide, but this is kind of what we have now. We have our updated, stack diagram, with our geospatial data warehouse there, and on the right, it's just an example of what ArcGIS looks like. So, you go in, the map there, everything in the map actually comes from our Postgres database, with dbt updating it, with Fivetran taking in the data from our various teams and our various data sources and updating it every day. So it's just a sort of interactive map visualization experience. And yeah, coming back to what I was talking about, I didn't write this. This is actually from the introduction page from the dbt website. dbt enables analytics engineers, yada yada yada, to transform data in their warehouses. That's what most people think it does, right? It does a T in the ELT, so it does transform. It doesn't extract or it doesn't load data, but it's good at transforming data. But what we've talked about just now, I guess it brings us closer to this vision, which was put out by Tristan Handy, the co-founder of dbt Labs. I think maybe a few months ago, when they got their last round of funding, he made the post mostly about metrics layer because this is the big shiny thing in the blog. But he also dropped this slide, and I just thought, this basically encapsulates my experience with dbt the last 2 years. How we're sort of bastardizing it, for users that are not very conventional, and that is dbt is a programming environment for your database. See, a lot of things that I talked about just now, triggering Lambda jobs, triggering, unloading data into S3, or running tests by by running other Lambda jobs as well. Materialization, you're telling the Postgres database exactly, what are the steps, to update a model, to create a model, to swap your staging model and the existing one. This is getting a little bit beyond, what we usually know about DBT. And I guess that's probably the biggest takeaway today, which is, treat it as a programming environment. It's not really like a, it's a, some of you might see it as like a BI related tool, or, it is, something that, you can, help you manage the spreadsheets, or, your reporting pipeline. It's a little bit more than that, really. If you take that as the mission statement of DBT, it actually allows you to do a lot more. And it's not really part of my slides, but last year in the same meetup, I talked about how we load data using DBT as well, by using hooks. We have like dummy models, that runs nothing but to copy stuff, from S3 buckets, and how the whole thing is just one DBT pipeline. What I had just now there, if you run DBT build, right, you will. It will do all the materialization things for you. It will also, push it, to ArcGIS for you. It will also test it for you. It's actually like one command to run the whole pipeline. And why? Because, DBT actually allows you to have all those instructions in one place. So this is my last slide. There's some more reflections on this project. It's, ongoing. There's, it's probably a forever going kind of project, like all analytics project. But when we built this data platform, I think we made a few mistakes. We actually waited a long time before we push it out to the business and say, hey, go try it, go use it, give us some feedback. And in hindsight, just go with small. Just don't be too self-conscious, with how the backend works. Really, like, your users don't care about what the sausage machine does. They don't want to know, and they don't want to see it. So all they care about is the user experience. If you have a good enough user experience, like what I showed just now, on ArcGIS, there's a map. You click it, some numbers show up. That's good enough. You don't have to think about, okay, the backend is already like stable enough, blah blah blah. Well, if it doesn't run like once a day, just run it once a week. Push something out. Engage your customers, engage your stakeholders early, and go with small, frequent changes as well. Again, it's the same as not, don't try to build something big, and like a whole pyramid before you, put it out to the business. Build small, release more, collect your feedback, and keep your stakeholders fresh as well. Especially launching a new platform, you do need to sort of spam them a little bit, just to keep them in the loop, let them feel like, there's actually momentum in the project, and also, serves as a reminder for them to use and provide feedback as well. And I guess all this point, I just want to talk about selling as well. We're half engineering people, if not, full engineering people. And I know selling is something that we just turn our heads around, or just feel nauseous, right away. But embrace it, really. This is necessary. You want people to use it. You want, if you even want to improve, your stack, improve your process, you really need to get out, to the market, if you're customer facing, or you need to get out to your stakeholders if you're internal facing. And I'm not good at selling, but you know what? You still got to try it. You still got to, go out there, engage your customers, collect the feedback, understand what they want, and persuade them, to use the things that you build, as well as explaining to them, why this is good for you, right? So that's all we have. This whole talk is actually from a Medium article. So if you want, like a write-up version of it, feel free. I only have like 2 articles there, and we're obviously hiring. And Neeraj, do you want to have a word? No. Okay. Well, like I said, I've been here for 4 years. I can vouch for it. It's a really cool company. We work on some really advanced stuff. if you're hardware people, if you're software people, if you're AI people, if you're data people as well, I hope you guys find this cool. But we are obviously hiring massively. So, if you're interested in any kind of role, just come up, not to me, I can't answer questions. The two gentlemen back there, Chris and Neeraj, will happily answer whatever questions there. For those who came with your managers today, it's okay. Just give me a tap on the shoulder. I'll talk to you. Right there. Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Round of applause for Jonathan. Fantastic. Hold on a second, Jonathan. For the best questions tonight, we've got a data mesh copy of the data mesh book. We've got 3 copies that Nearmap have kindly provided. So whoever's got the best questions, or a question perhaps, I might kick things off, even though I've got a copy at home already. Pretty much, Jonathan, you could say that you've built a data product here. Quite a big data product, but it's a data product using one of the concepts of data mesh, which is kind of decentralization. Have you got like a DBT set up for perhaps each of your data products that you're building, or is this just more of a monolithic, not that there's anything wrong, but just out of interest?
Yep. It's kind of a separate project. You look at our stack diagram just now, it really is 2 separate parts. The way we model DBT is very much according to our understanding of the business, which I think is, should be the way it is. What does a business actually care about? What metrics, how do we chop the business up into different parts? That's how we model it. We don't really do it like project by project.
Yeah. So it's more according to domain, if you will.
Domain.
Yeah.
Domain for sure.
Which is, it says domain somewhere in the data mesh.
To be honest,
trust me.
Mesh, I am, I've read so many articles. I probably still need to read a lot more articles. So
it sounds amazing.
I could get this book myself.
Yeah. Questions? We'll bring the mic around. Okay. Just because I'm lazy, I'll just go for you first.
Right. Hey, great talk, John. Thanks very much for that. I spotted in your architecture diagram, you've got a mix of different sort of ingestion tooling. You've got Fivetran. I saw a teeny tiny little Airbyte logo.
Oh no!
I have an Airbyte question.
Okay.
I could not ask if you like.
Yeah.
It's more of a. Have you found sort of a more stable tool out of that bunch? Because I know you sort of had Fivetran for your GIS warehouse sort of thing that happened before your Snowflake piece, but then you have Airbyte sort of floating around there.
Yep.
What's your sort of longer term approach now?
I'll probably get a mic going.
There you go, mate.
Yeah, so Airbyte is a little bit of a story itself. So we use a platform where there's no integration with Fivetran. So that's all. That's the reason. We try. It's funny because it has a Snowflake warehouse, but then it's locked. Like you can't do shares, you can't do replication. We talked to the reps, couldn't do that as well. So we end up just running our own Airbyte because it supported that. So it's just on the side. It's more like an exception in terms of like the broader strategy. We're definitely, we want wherever we can go with Fivetran, we go with Fivetran, just because we're a team of 3, and we're taking care of so many teams. In this company, we don't really have that capacity to write our custom scripts and things like that. Not to say that we don't run custom jobs, we run them, but even those are run on Fivetran as well. So that's definitely our main tool. And there's also the S3 stuff, partly because of cost reasons. There are things that, I don't know, millions and millions of records. How are you going to get that from Fivetran without blowing up your bill? And also there are things that just ergonomic. We have like a usage API. Gives us like, we have like almost probably like 700 billion records there now. Like how are you gonna like suck it in, from using Fivetran, right? Like there's with a lot of money. Music to some people's ears, but not to ours. So it really depends on the cost and the ease as well.
Okay, what do we got? Going to be a bit more discerning, so it has to be a good question.
Okay, cool. Thanks. You're talking about recruitment here. I'm going to do the reverse recruitment. Would you be interested in joining us?
Give it a mic. Yeah.
Just in the theme of the reverse ETL.
My boss right there. Yes, there's a little dent there. Yeah.
Okay, yep. Do you want next question?
Thanks, Matt, for the great presentation.
Do you want a question?
I'm totally basically
Yeah.
new to this tool, and I'm just wondering whether
We'll get
this
next.
dbt workflow framework help you to manage the schema of your data sources, for example, the Postgres, and whether you had some new data into the system and then you needed to basically change or remove some of the data attributes, columns. Did it help you to manage the schema and migrate your data from one version to another?
Yep.
That's a good question, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, yes. So I guess that's probably not specific to, what we do, but just, dbt as a tool in general. I think that's probably one of the key benefits that you'll get from using that. You have a version control, code repository, with basically the configuration of your schema. If you make changes, you got to go through PR, you got to go through reviews, and also, you can do documentation as well. So it's not just writing a query, but dbt allows you to actually document, and they have their own little documentation plugin, documentation tool. So that's version control as well. So yeah, definitely yes. It does help with all that like schema change. I mean, yeah.
Oh, either way. Sorry to rush. Just going to go up the back here, and then I'll come back to you, mate. Yep.
I'm really into winning this book. I need something just before bed. And data mesh is probably the thing that will help me get sleep. So quick question. You've just implemented this whole new data stack. You've deployed it to the business. Have you done the analytics on how much more money the business has made because you've implemented this stack? And have they given you a cut of it yet?
It's yes, no question. Unfortunately, no. Just no. I think that's probably not it's not specific to this kind of project, right? Like data like analytics team or data team, we're not really revenue making. We don't sell. Our products are actually, most of them are actually internal facing as well. So yeah, short answer to the question is no. The long answer to the question is no, but we try to make sure that, that's why we want to release more changes. We collect feedback, where we can't quantify, we try to, qualify, I suppose. But that's a good question in itself, like, whether we can, put our, the benefits of having a data team in a business, in actual numbers. And that's probably a question that is beyond my pay grade here.
Yeah, maybe one or two more questions we'll grab.
Thanks, Marco. I have two questions. So the coverage genius is facing a company I'm working for. It's facing a problem. How do the other teams consume the dbt models? For example, if they need to do any dbt metrics, how do you share these metrics to the other teams? And the second question is, in general, how the dbt models are shared to the other teams, cross-functionals. And the second one is, how do you test in the dbt schema changes with confidence without breaking other reports or the existing dashboards?
Yep. Okay. Getting some exercise in tonight. That's good.
Yeah, no, sorry with only having one mic.
Good.
So the first one was how do we basically make changes and not break things? Is it?
How do you share models with the other?
Oh yeah, share models. Interesting, because sitting right next to you is our data analyst, and she's Laura there, and she's basically heart of this project as well. So sharing, I mean, with DBT, it's a lot about how you use DBT, I'd say, because you can have a repository with that no one but your team can make changes to, that no one but your team can view the documentation. That's you can do it that way, or you have it in GitHub or something like that, and it's logged. You need a PR to make changes anywhere. You can allow people to go in. You can allow people to go to your DBT Cloud or something like that. It hosts your documentation tool. So it really is about your comfort level of giving people access. DBT itself and the workflow that it recommends, it should be safe enough for you to share that. And with people coming in and sort of playing around with data, making changes and things like that. Again, it probably is a question on how you manage your data warehouse as well. Do you have like schemas for them that it's basically their playground? How do you clone like a production schema to somewhere that they can play with, that they can make changes without having to worry that they type analytics or prod instead of dev or something like that, or QA. So it really depends on how you set up your database environment and what kind of access you're comfortable to give the other members of your team. Yep.
Cool. Howard, yep. Oh, yeah. Okay. Just a brief one, Howard, and then we'll get to you, and then we'll finish up. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I have a quick one. How do you run your DBT? Do you use dbt Cloud, or you run it on EC2 instance, or Lambda functions, or ECS?
You mentioned DBT Cloud, I think,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah, I saw a post on DBT Cloud. Yes, we run it on DBT Cloud. So I think one of the things that I didn't quite mention was, you look at our whole stack, it's almost like 99.5% SQL. And that gives us, like, the 0.5% is probably just a Lambda code that lives in AWS, which we have Terraform for. But having everything in SQL means that you don't really need to run any code, like, in Python, something like that, which will require you to, spin up something like Airflow or, other orchestration tool. Which hosts DBT Cloud just because, we're not like a, healthcare shop or something like that. We don't have those data privacy requirements. But also, it's cheap, it's fast, and I would say that try not to have too many moving pieces. If you host it on an EC2, you got to do health check on your instances. You might a bunch of like health metrics, and I don't think you need to resize it. DBT is a really light thing, but you have to figure out like the logging and stuff like that as well. I wouldn't say it's ideal to run your own. It might, but circumstances change. If it's a business requirement that you have to run things in-house, then you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I guess there's self-hosted documentation on DBT Cloud, and then there's the Cloud IDE and stuff like that. So a few benefits, some really good ones for DBT Cloud.
Far away.
No worries. Getting some...
Just on a light note, are there any imagery that Nearmap collects being used in any computer games?
That's a really great question.
John, help!
No, you don't think so?
Oh my God, I don't know how much can I talk about this. Okay, is it an okay? Yeah, well, it's a no, but I was going to say that a lot of games, they use the open world framework, and it's kind of, what we've been working on as well. So that's probably the answer to that.
Yeah, awesome. Round of applause. Thanks for all the question answering, and thanks to Nearmap for hosting. I was thinking like Capture the Flag or something like that. Those sorts of games would be pretty cool use cases for Nearmap's maps and stuff like that. But perhaps you need a bit more real time. But okay, enough left field thinking. Thanks so much. We're going to hang around for half an hour, do a bunch of networking, perhaps chat with the recruitment team at Nearmap, see if they can get some enthusiastic DBTers to join the team. Next month, I think we're at Rocked, which is in Surrey Hills. They're another awesome Aussie startup that's, I guess, or you could probably say Nearmap's probably not a startup, is it? It's like a scale up or something like that is the newfangled term for these awesome companies. So yeah, that's going to be early June, I believe. So, and Nearmap's also hosting the Sydney DBT Meetup on Thursday, the 26th of May. Sydney Data Engineering Meetup, that's the one. Yeah, awesome. I should really know that, considering I run it as well. But got too much things going on. But yeah, we're always on the lookout for awesome talks and stuff like that. So, and you don't need to be an expert. Obviously, Jonathan's taking us through some wonderful things tonight, with GIS and stuff like that. But, if you just want to tell us how you're taking your first dips with DBT or something like that, share something new with the community, that's totally cool as well. So just reach out. We're not scary people or anything like that. We're a friendly bunch. So yeah, you're most welcome. So thanks once again. Ciao for now. Bye.
Our data engineering team is hiring as well, so for that one you can come to me.
Yeah, just to answer the last question which was asked, if you guys hop on our Instagram page and look at our imagery is actually being used in a lot of photo exhibitions, and we capture really beautiful imagery from above. So it's not yet being used in gaming as far as I'm aware, but that's a good lead. Thank you very much. So I'm not going to pitch anything from recruitment side. So thank you guys for attending, and have some good time, catch up, make some friends, and thanks again.